I know Stuart Copeland has got "fuck off, you, see you next Tuesday" written on his skins, but I think that's more to do with Sting than any particular song. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles, you bastard. I'm not some gravy. My name's John. His name's Andy. Final eternity arouses reactions. Freeing excellence affects reality. Fallen empires are ruling. Find Earth and reap. More on that later. But first, we have a track to listen to today, selected by brother Andy. What do you got?
I have got a band called Ultraviolet Communication and a track by them called Skull Chatter. Looks like you're experiencing some skull chatter yourself right there.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Don't worry, lads. I've cracked it. We'll be rich with this name.
Exactly. Ultraviolet Communication. It rolls right off the tongue. All 92 letters of that. So please go off and give this track Skull Chatter a listen. Come back and let me know what you think.
Jawohl. Interesting start. Get a hit for the drums. Something just struck me, which I will elaborate on further later. But then in comes this chord, which then has more sustain than one of Nigel Tufnell's guitars. Just keeps on going, and you've got the rhythm section doing. It's almost like sounds like they're cranking it up. Look, lads, we've got best part of 10 minutes to go here. Let's crank it up. Let's keep going. And that's what it kind of sounds like. And then you got this guitar sort of like pontificating over the top of it. All the phrases. Yeah, it's good stuff. I wonder how long keep this chord going for. Okay, we're a minute and a half into it. Oh my, how time flies. No, they progress from that one chord into the song proper. It's got a nice sort of groove to it, and it's that sort of Venn diagram of, but it's sort of like country rock and psychedelia and like acid rock and all that stuff, and it's that nice sort of sound in between, placing it firmly in the 1970s sort of sound for me. And then comes a singer. Fortunately, he couldn't be with the band that night, so he's had to phone it in. Uh, we've got that effect in there. There's, bottom of a bucket, tin can, two bits of string. It's that kind of sound. And there's a bit of reverb on it as well, so it really does sound like, long distance. Cool. from the 70s, which weren't that great. Yeah, which makes hearing what he says as well very difficult. But yeah, sounds really good.
Giving yourself to insanity to console those betrayed. You're sitting in your mind, you can't erase what they say. Was it here? Was that there? Decaying in the gloom. A permanent scar in an ocean of tar in the garden of doom. And when your skin breaks, you can't erase the thing that holds you back from fate. You can't control validation with trepidation of mistakes. Any more than the clock, you sit aside who is late.
Okay, just that's a long song, so I try not to break too much. But yeah, so it's really interesting. So we went to like a double time, um, and they're sort of real rocking it away. And then he like goes woo, and we go into this guitar bit, and it's really nicely constructed, and it was like constructed almost like a house, planks. You got bricks, and each they were going in like 4 bar steps, I think it was. I'm not a musician, so I could be wrong. But it seemed like they did things 4 times and changed it to something else. But each progression, you could see where it was going. It still made it pleasant to listen to. I enjoyed it a lot. But it was like constructed and quite nicely done. And then it drops it all down. And again, it's like the rhythm section, particularly the bass, is like the workman, the no frills guy. And he's like keeping it all steady, mixing them more. And then in comes the guitar again just now. It's a lot more precise. It's almost like we've done all the bricks and everything, got them out, and now he's pointing them. He's just really a lot more precise in it and his work. Sounds really nice. We changed it up. I know Andy loves a change up. Me, I'm not that bothered, but sounds good. Sorry, I'm just noticing here as well, the guitar is mimicking what the bass is doing. And it kind of reminds me of like a manager who then just, says what his what his team has said. He's presenting his team's, best ideas as his own. That's what I'm getting from that. Last bit's just in danger of getting a little proggy. Proper tenor. Just have to say, it's so ironic that the music drops out and he says that's what it's all about, like he's just giving us the key to him, but I couldn't understand that bloody word he said before that. That's ironic. This starts sounding proper as well.
And when your skull wakes you
Interesting song. I think I liked the bits. If we give it, we're talking shorthand here. The bits are a bit more Lynyrd Skynyrd than the bits are a bit more Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But it's really interesting. Not really the last couple of minutes, it seemed to have discovered a bunch of free range keyboard effects, and they let them free to romp out into the wilderness across the track. That was very odd, and not fitting with the rest of the song whatsoever. Bizarre. But yeah, overall, really nice sound. I didn't mind the filter on the vocals actually, as I've heard stuff like that so many times before. So it didn't affect my enjoyment. It kind of just made feel a little bit of nostalgia to it, of that 70s sort of stuff. But yeah, a real enjoyable 10-minute romp. Just watch out for that proggy bit. Apart from that, really cool. Let's find out some more about this ultraviolet communication. Let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, so over 10 minutes later, the skull chatter has subsided. You're back. What did you make of the song?
Didn't shave my went into this. Correct me if I'm wrong before we start, actually. I was thinking ultraviolet communication, isn't that something to do? I remember reading about something to do with animals having secret messages on them which we can't see, but they can. I think I read, could be wrong, that even some dinosaurs had it or something, but
Yeah.
something like that anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, so the song itself. Now, I know that some drummers write words on their drum kits on the skins to help with certain sort of patterns or phrasing. And I don't know, when they taught all the volunteers to do the drumming at the start of the 2012 Olympic Games, they gave them a phrase to repeat and hit the strokes on. It was something like "duh, duh, 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 make your mum proud," and that was the beat.
Okay.
And I know Stuart Copeland has got "fuck off, you, see you next Tuesday" written on his skins, but I think that's more to do with Sting than any particular song. So anyway, song starts with eggs and sausages. And then that's my long way of getting to that, the drum bit. And then we get a sustained chord on a guitar, which sort of rides on for about 40 seconds, like a Duracell bunny. It just keeps going. Meanwhile, the rhythm section is doing all the manual labor, working some kind of hand crank, or you can almost hear the grunt on every cycle. A bit like a sort of one of those hand pump rail cars. You imagine them going slowly up the line. Meanwhile, another guitar pontificates with a riff that sort of drifts across the channels in both ears. And it's very much like a guy commenting on other people's work while he's got his boots on the table and is chewing a toothpick. The rhythm section of, continuing on. I wouldn't go far to say that the pick is cinnamon flavored, but you get the picture. As the resonant chord fades and there's enough kinetic energy in the bank for the remaining 9 minutes, the song kicks off proper. And the sound that we get is a real cocktail. It's kind of acid rock with a bit of psychedelia and a lot of country rock in there as well. And it's all shaken up in a silver flask with "I Heart the 70s" emblazoned down the side. The singer enters. Well, he would if he was in the same zip code. Unfortunately, due to administrative error, he's had to phone in his part from the Albuquerque branch of Los Polos Hermanos. The vocal effects on this are really 70s and really cementing that vibe. It's the bottom of the bucket, tin cans and a bit of string sort of vibe. I like it, don't get me wrong. It's hilarious and quite nostalgic in a way. Made it more difficult for me to catch the lyrics, and I'm such a beast for catching them normally.
Of course.
I got something about Read and Weeping headlines. Every year, cold, Garden of Doom. As we're in no rush, the singer goes for a little lie down after that sort of, half a dozen lines, while the band sort of circle the block a couple of times. Then They're sounding really good, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. It's got a sort of jammy feel to it. Um, and when he returns for the next verse, for no discernible reason at all, we go into double time. Um, and as we're doing this, he utters the word insanity, and it floats past me a bit like the cow in Twister. I let the rest go. The band do a really good job here, and for someone who doesn't know a lot about them, Lynyrd Skynyrd come to mind for some reason. And it's without being as southern as they are, but that's what it kind of sounds like to me a little bit. There's just a hint of that sort of good old boy country in their swagger, but not a lot.
Mm.
And they sound really tight as well. So we get to a bit, and there's a woo, and we go to a guitar break. Around, I noted 240. It's pleasantly constructed, but it is constructed. It's like you can see it's all planks and bricks, and it does what you expect it to do I think in fours. So in 4 bars, they do a bit here and there. So like up, down, and then a bit back and return, and it's all building together in a very familiar but really enjoyable framework. And then they start doing the climbing bit as well, the incy wincy spider bit going up, and energizing the bass as well, and the particular drums kick in. And then after a minute and a half of this, we down tools for a mini break. We let the bass take the weight for a bit, and we drop back to a more sensible time signature, continuing the weather. And the guitar comes back with a slightly different role. It becomes more precise and fastidious. I mean, it's like they've constructed a bit of the house, and now he's going along and he's just pointing the brickwork. And what he's also doing is mimicking the bass.
Yeah.
So the bass, so he mimics it, and it reminded me of like a manager repeating his team's best ideas as his own. That's what I got that from that.
That's great.
But work's going fine. Thanks for asking. It's feeling a little spritey. And then after about the 5 minute mark, we start to drift like a dinghy without oars, dangerously going towards the white water of progressive rock. Oblivious to any warning, the band continue on noodling. And just as I fear all is lost, we're suddenly dragged back to that functional bass part again. The band take an almost audible breather, contemplating the musical near miss. Prog rock is not to be taken lightly. Before you know it, you've got a flute section and you're doing a 12-minute solo with a guitar that you've called Moribond the Destroyer. Anyway, a few more hand cranks from the rhythm section, and then normal riffage is resumed. The phone line is reconnected, and back comes the vocalist. Ironically, it's a struggle to hear what he says, and then everything drops out, and he goes, "That's what it's all about." And I was like, "Thanks a bunch," because I haven't got a clue what you just said. So I thought that's all about. I've got no hope. We circle back to the double time affair, where I think I hear something about a skull breaking and a raising or something. Before weirdly, we get some sort of free range keyboard effects that are liberated from their cages, and are let loose to romp across the song towards freedom. Very weird, but quite fun. We're clearly in the final furlong of the song, so it's heads down and rock on. Although the kind of inclusion of this keyboards has given me an uncomfortable sort of stroke Emerson, Lake and Palmer vibes. Yeah, but the song ends with reverb. So yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun. It was interesting. I had a nice feel about it overall. So like you get the sort of character of it, and it was this nice laid back. I think roots in that sort of southern country rocky type thing, but with other stuff going on as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Excellent, man. I'm glad you did. I thought you would, but I also thought it might push your limits because it's got shades of prog. It
Yeah.
isn't prog, but and I thought that might be the one issue you took with it, and I think I was right. I'll say when you said not being familiar with them at all, I got the vibe of, or it reminded me of, and you said Lynyrd Skynyrd. I thought for sure you were going to say, because, and maybe this is how I would answer that, but I have a bit more familiarity with them, is the Allman Brothers. This has this southern jam rock kind of sound to it, without being quite as, I guess, I don't know, in your face as Lynyrd Skynyrd is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of I think that they've got a little bit of that sound going for them. So I think we kind of, at the end, bad semantics aside, I think we kind of agree on the same thing. They have a little bit of that sound to them. But yeah, Ultraviolet Communication is a Los Angeles-based psychedelic rock band formed in 2018. Though it should be noted that they originally formed in Phoenix, Arizona, though that's not too far from LA. They are known for their sonic explorations within the psychedelic rock genre, incorporating various elements and pushing boundaries. The band is comprised of Matt Morgan on bass and vocals, Lee Pickett on drums, and Josiah Rodriguez on guitar. December of
Oh, three-piece.
2017. Yeah, three-piece. I think that was on the thumbnail I sent you. Was
There's
this?
three people, yeah, but
Yeah, that's the three lads in the band. So yeah, that's it. So in December of 2017, Pickett and Rodriguez met at a coffee shop after discussing mutual musical interests through responses to a Craigslist posted by Rodriguez. According to the band, we hit it off right away, and we began to meet regularly to jam out. Josiah was approached by a friend in late April of 2018 inquiring if he knew any good drummers for studio work. He recommended Pickett to his friend, and the two began to meet along with a bass player and vocalist. This was Matt Morgan. Pickett and Morgan, having lost interest in the studio project, started to meet outside of that to play and discuss their music tastes. Not soon after, the three musicians began playing and writing music together and have been together ever since. They have released 4 full-length albums, including Capacity of Illusion, Paper Tiger, The King's Tapestry, and Gravitas. The track Skull Chatter that I had you listen to today features on the band's latest album, 2024's Gravitas. Of the album, the band would say, Gravitas was heavily inspired by our desire to venture into more improvisational pieces during our live shows. We had a lot of fun throwing caution to the wind and seeing what would happen when we left certain sections of an arrangement open to change and evolve every time we hit the stage. Over time, we found certain things that we would gravitate towards most of the time and kept adding them to the actual arrangements. As a result, we ended up with 3 of the songs approaching 10 minutes. Drugstore Cowboy, Skull Chatter, and No Return are not for the faint of heart, to say the least, but we feel that these 3 songs really anchor the album and set a tone for each section of it. We tracked the bare bones of the album live as a trio and overdubbed to add dynamics and convey different moods throughout. We really tried to make it feel as close to our live shows as possible in hopes that it inspires listeners to catch us at a show and experience these songs live. Writing for Mixdown.com, Rayanne Quick noted that while the band takes a nod from classic rock, with long, grandiose hooks and powerful instrumentals, Ultraviolet Communication creates a sound that carefully crafts a modern take on such influences. I think my favorite part of this track is probably that bit where the bass is playing that main riff in the sort of the extended middle ground of just instrumentation. The bass is playing that riff, and there's this lovely fluttering guitar motif that's happening there before the guitar decides to do what you joked about, like the manager parroting the ideas of their stuff, where it starts to play the actual same shit as the bass and then take it up and it just has this, oh my god, I just love that sound so much. Online publication Psychedelic Rock Baby Mag reviewed Gravitas and wrote, their sonic concoction blends blistering yet melodious guitar riffs intertwined with vocals that possess both the depth of soul and the command of a rock deity. So, let's jump into these lyrics. Overworked and undersold are the lies that you've been told. Read and weep at headlines, each year so cold. Rage and fear begin to bloom From your heart an empty tomb, trading in the fruits of your labor for a garden of doom. Giving yourself to insanity to console those betrayed, yet sitting in your mind you can't erase what they say. Was it here? What's that there? Decaying in the gloom, a permanent scar in an ocean of tar, in the garden of doom. And when your skull breaks, you can't erase the thing that holds you back from fate. You can't control validation with trepidation of mistakes. And more than the clock decides who is late, pick your head up off the floor and screw it on. Allusions to worry and tales of death are gone. Realize that once you're in, you are on your way out. And contributions of the soul, that's what it's all about. And when your skull breaks, you can't erase the thing that holds you back from fate. You can't control validation with the trepidation of mistakes any more than the clock decides who is late. There you have it. Those are the lyrics, my friend. Yeah, thank you for investing 10 minutes of your time to give this track a listen, John. And I'm glad you liked the kind of jammy, very 70s psychedelic vibes that this song provided. You know, it's I think on the last channel I gave you some stuff by that band Mo. This is a bit akin to that, but perhaps, you know, fast forward 25 years, 20 years, and this is like a bit more of a slightly more polished take on it. But both bands wildly. I mean, you listen to this stuff. That's one thing about this genre. The musicians are so goddamn good, and they're so tight because they're changing all of these things, tempo, time signatures, entire musical motifs, and they're hitting that shit in stride every time. No hiccups or hesitation or anything like that. And to me, that's just really impressive, just from a musician standpoint and a talent standpoint. So, yeah, always fun giving music like this a go. So thanks again, John. I appreciate you. Guys out there, please let us know what you think of Ultraviolet Communication in this track, Skull Chatter. If it reminded you of anything, bands or genres, what have you, feel free to drop that down in the comment field below. Also, down in the comment field below, you can feel free to drop other tracks by these guys or, frankly, any other band you would like us to check out. We will add it to the list. The only reason it would not be added to the list is if both of us are intimately aware of that track, because there's no point in doing a reaction to that. That'd be rather disingenuous and a bit of a waste of time. So anything at least one of us hasn't heard, pop it down in there. There's only one way to find out if we have, and that's just to throw it up there, and we'll be honest with you. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done so already and you feel so inclined and kind. We would really appreciate that. It doesn't take but a couple seconds of your time, and it goes a long way helping us over here at the channel battle the algorithm gods. All that out of the way, hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.